Welcome to Diaries of a Healing Latina. This is a safe space where we talk about the parts of healing that no one really prepares us for. In this episode, I want to talk about something a little different, something that I feel that we don't address within our Hispanic community, and that's colorism and racism. You may be asking yourself, why do you want to speak about that? Because I feel like I've experienced it myself ever since my childhood. And it's something that I have vocalized before, and I've even been told that I'm a liar, that everything's all in my mind and I'm making it all up. But later on in life, it was actually confirmed that it was colorism and it was racism that I had experienced in my past and in my childhood. As a tan Latina, I personally have experienced colorism and racism both in my country and in the United States, from my family and from people that I even knew in my past. I always wanted to ignore it, but it got to a point where I had to truly face it, because there was a point where I truly hated my skin. I truly hated my body. I hated myself because I was not white. It wasn't something that I needed to blame myself for, but more of how other people made me feel. And I had to really look and evaluate my surroundings to really think and evaluate why I hated my skin complexion so much, why I hated to be a tan Latina. And I had to come to accept that I'm beautiful. Whether I'm white, whether I'm tan, whether I'm black, whether I'm yellow, whether I'm blue, whether I'm purple, whether I'm whatever, I had to accept that I am beautiful the way that I am, the way that I was born. Before I get started, I did want to give the definitions from colorism and racism, because I just feel like it's something that we should really know the definition for. Colorism is discrimination based on skin tone within the same race or ethnicity. Racism is discrimination based on race, ethnicity overall. So there's two big differences between both of them, and I personally feel like I've experienced both colorism and racism. Like I had mentioned previously, I experienced both of them back in my country and here in the United States. I've had multiple incidents where I've experienced rejection, not only for my skin complexion, but also for being a Latina. And both of the times, obviously, I felt pretty freaking shitty, because who the heck wants to experience something like that? Those are the moments in your life that you actually realize that there's people out here that don't have a heart, that don't truly value people, that are very close-minded and still live in this close-minded era that no longer exists and should no longer exist. But unfortunately, it still exists, which is nearly insane to me, because by today's date, you would think that racism or colorism shouldn't really be something that affects people. But unfortunately, it does, and it still exists. And hopefully one day it could just go away overall. That's like my only wish in this life, truly and sincerely. With all of that being said, I want to talk about my experiences on my past, my childhood, everything I experienced based on colorism and racism. So we're just going to start off in my childhood. I know that there's people that have experienced worse, but these are just my experiences, my own personal opinion, and I'm just sharing it with you guys because it's something that I feel like not a lot of Hispanics talk about. When I was a child, I did feel a lot of rejection from my family. I'm not going to mention which side of the family, but let's just put it like this. I no longer speak to that side of the family. I experienced a lot of rejection because that side of the family was white. And as you can see, I'm tan. So to that family, I would just say one person in particular. I later on ended up finding out that they did not want me to be born because they knew that I would be tan. So that would mess up the family genes in a way. But either way, that sucks for them because I came out to be a little bad bitch. So who cares? Anyways, as time progressed, this one family member that did not want me to be here today, they actually bullied me a lot. They would do things that none of my parents truly knew. So I would just give one example, and this is something that I will never forget. They will brush my hair with this comb that was like very, very, very spiky. And they will brush my hair from my forehead up. And I remember I would just have like scratches all over my forehead because of how hateful they felt about me. And I would always be like, why is this person like this with me? Why does this person not love me? Why does this person never show me care or show me the same compassion that they show all of my other cousins or like everyone else in the family? They always treat me differently from everyone else. And I never understood. I actually moved to the United States when I was 8. But if you live in Colombia or if you live back in your country, you'll actually know that it's a lot more advanced than here than United States. So you grow up a lot quicker than here, by the way. So when we came to the United States, things obviously changed because over here the culture is a lot more different. Around the age of 16, 17, my godmother, God bless her, so I loved her with my entire being. She was like my grandmother. And one day she put me in this room and she started spilling everything out. And she's like, I feel like you need to know all of this information before I die. It was almost like she knew she was about to pass away. So in my mind, I'm like, why are you saying all of these things? And one of the things that she told me was that this person from my family did not want me to be born. They had asked my mom to abort me. My mom did not listen to this person and they decided to keep me. Obviously, I was born. When my godmother told me this information, it was like all of the pieces from the puzzle, they all came together collectively and they made that one puzzle. And I'll never forget one day I went to therapy because I had a therapist one time and I told my therapist, I feel like I've experienced racism. Like I feel like I've experienced the rejection from some of my family members. And I told them what had happened, like the things that I'm telling you right now. And this therapist told me I was crazy, told me that I was making everything up and I needed to let go because that was just a resentment that I was holding against this family member. When in reality, years later, I actually got confirmation of everything that I had felt and that I was trying to truly figure out about myself. Once I got this confirmation, that's when I realized that I wasn't the problem. The problem was them because they did not accept me. Even though I accepted them and even though I tried to love them, they had their own mental issues. Who knows what happened in their past for them to not accept my skin complexion, to not accept me as their family member, but it's something that they needed to heal within themselves. It had nothing to do with me. With all of that, that was the first time that I truly felt rejection for my skin complexion, and it was something that was very hard for me to let go. I remember like I grew up and, the type of man that I needed to date was a white man. And I wanted to be with a white man like back in my early 20s and whatnot. I started basically looking for white men to date. And I started getting rejected by white men. And I was like, wait, what? I remember I would look at my friend and my friend would get hit on by white men, but I wouldn't get hit on by white men. It wasn't anyone's fault, but my trauma started kicking in and it was like, holy shit. It's my skin complexion. I wish I were white. Oh, why am I this dark? I hate my skin color. I hate this about myself. I started hating so many things about myself back then that I'm ashamed of now, obviously, because I'm beautiful the way that I am. Like, fuck everything else and fuck what people think, sincerely and respectfully. And when I got back into the dating scene, I basically restructured my whole entire mindset and I changed completely and I started dating different men. Okay, I wasn't just focused on it has to be a white man because that's what the Hispanic culture and the Hispanic community tells you that it should be, because I'm sorry, it is a Hispanic community thing. I'm sorry, it is what it is. Later on in life, I was on my way to work, okay? And I used to be a bit of a reckless driver. I was a bit late to my job and that job was very crazy with you being on time. And if you were not there on time, then you would get into a whole lot of shit and they will literally write you up. If you get 3 write-ups, then you get fired, da 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 da. Whatever. I'm driving crazy, right? My job's right here, and here's the light. There was a car in front of me, and the light decides to turn yellow. This car stops completely. So I'm like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to go in front of them. Like, I went around and I went in front. So I went into my job. They freaking see me go into my job because my job's like right here. I get out of my car. This man got out of his car, started yelling at me, telling me that I needed to get deported back to my country, that calling me a bunch of names. Like, he just started yelling at the top of his lung. And I remember, like, I turned around and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? And I see the security guard from the building walking out because this guy is just getting crazy, like crazy at this red light. Mind you, he stopped. I never like did anything. He stopped, so I just went around him. But this guy decided to just go crazy. At that point, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm at work. Then I get called into someone's office. When I get called into this office, I see that they had called my boss and the company's lawyer. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? They play a freaking voicemail. The guy had called my job and left a voicemail, screaming, saying that I needed to get deported back to my country, that who the fuck did I think I was, that I probably don't even work hard enough, that I probably stole that car because a person like me could never own a car like that. Mind you, back then, I owned a Tesla Model 3. A lot of people did not have a Tesla back then. So this guy is just going off on the phone, on this voicemail, saying all of this like racist statements about me. And the only thing I could do at that point, I remember that broke my heart so much because that was my first racist experience that I personally experienced. And it truly broke my heart because I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was born here in the United States. I'm not an immigrant. Like, I've done everything right. I don't understand why this person's calling me an immigrant and saying that they need to call ICE and they need to deport me back to my country and that I stole this car when I've worked so hard ever since I was 18 years old. Like, I've literally busted my fucking ass day and fucking night for someone to call and say that I stole a car? That I stole a car? That I earned with my own money? At that point, the head of the company, they asked me to apologize to them for embarrassing the company. They don't even apologize to me for the racism that I had just experienced. They wanted me to apologize for putting the company into shame. This was me. Appalled. I looked at that person and I remember my eyes got so watery. I was so heartbroken. I apologized and I walked out, and I remember my boss, my manager at that time, he hugged me and he's like, no one should ever go through something that you just went through. You should have not apologized because what you experienced is not normal and it's not okay. That was complete racism right there off the bat. I don't even understand why they asked you to apologize. He was super pissed off, and at that point I was so heartbroken that I didn't even know what to say, what to think. All I remember was just calling my dad, and I told my dad what happened. My dad was furious. That man was furious. Then I called my mom. My mom was furious too, because at that moment my mom was just working on getting her green card. If he wants to call ICE on someone, tell them to call ICE on me. Nah, nah, nah. She just went off. Like, that day she was pissed. My dad was pissed too. Like, my mom wanted me to quit that job and everything, and I just basically sucked it in, whatever. That was the experience I experienced around the age of 25, 26. And ever since then, I guess you could say in a way I'm oppressed because I've been upset, and anytime that I sit down, especially like in my country or like with any Hispanic and they try to say something that feels racist, like to me it just does not sit well, because I've experienced it myself, and it's just such a horrible feeling that I wouldn't want someone to feel, you know? The one thing that I would say that I truly, truly dislike about I'm going to say the Hispanic community, that I truly dislike about the Hispanic community is that they praise white people. Like, they praise white people, and I'm like, why are we praising a certain type of person? Like, why aren't we praising every single person from our country? Because in Colombia, everyone's all different types of color. Like, I'm sorry, everyone's all different types of color. And you can't just discriminate whatsoever just because they're not white. And I hate that every time I go back to my country and you hear like people talk that live there, they see white as such a like high standard. And it's like, why are you viewing white as such a like high standard, or like American? I feel like, at least I could speak for Colombians. In Colombia, they praise being American, you know, because it's seen as something like high status and high value or whatnot. But to me, it's like being Hispanic alone is such a high standard. It's such a blessing. It's such a beautiful culture, because we're all different in our own way, in our own skin complexions. Like, not everyone has the same hair. Not everyone has the same skin complexion. We're all different. We all speak different. Our accents are all different. Like, we all dance differently. We all enjoy life differently. But as a Hispanic community and as a whole, we hold the same values, but we also hold the same racism and colorism, and it's so sad, because that shouldn't have to be part of a Hispanic community. A Hispanic community should be known for loving each other, for family, for being wholesome, for being, I don't know, for just being pure. But the fact that we have to experience colorism and racism within the Hispanic community, I truly dislike it, and it breaks my heart, because it's not, I don't know, it just doesn't go together, you know? And unfortunately, it's the truth. I was talking to my sister, and, you know, we were talking about other things, and she was just telling me of someone that she knows from a different culture that it's almost like the Hispanic community, they uphold white Americans and or just being white, you know, like it's like seen as something as a high standard. But how I told her, how come like everyone else is not seen as a high standard? Like, perfect example, having like, I used to have really curly hair, and I used to hate having curly hair. In Colombia, you having straight hair is seen something very valuable, something high. And I remember I used to want to get like the keratin or whatever to make my hair straight. And it's like, what the heck? What the heck? And now that I look back and just all of those little small things, like I hate it, and I feel so sad about it, because as a community, like I said, we should just be pure, and we should just love each other as a unity. Because the beautiful part about being Hispanic is not that we all look the same, but that we're all different. And it's just like that in every other culture. And I think culture alone is such a beautiful experience, just everything from the food to the people. Okay, and it just sucks. It just sucks that those words actually exist, that those feelings actually exist, that type of hatred actually exists within the world, because it's not even only our community, it's the world. I think now that we're more well-rounded, that we're more aware, I hope that as a Hispanic community, we all come together and we heal all of those parts that are broken from our community, because those are broken parts that I feel like once we heal and once we collectively, if we could get past the racism, past the colorism, past all of the past traumas that our elders have gone through, we can actually be a big community filled with love, because that's what the Hispanic community to me looks like, a community of love, of unity. And getting past that, I feel like it will break so many generational curses that have been brought ever since our grandparents, past our grandparents, their grandparents. And once that's broken, I feel like our community could be powerful. We have everything that makes us a really good culture, you know? It's just that one bit that we need to get over. At the end of the day, healing in our community starts with honesty. Racism and colorism does exist, but it does not define our worth. Our beauty, our identity, and our strength cannot be defined by one skin tone. I just wanted to speak on this because I know that as a child, I punished myself so much, and I wanted to just be a different person. But I've learned to embrace myself, and I've learned to embrace my body. I've learned to embrace my skin tone. I have learned to just embrace myself and my own beauty, because one skin tone does not make everything just beautiful and perfect. I feel like all of us collectively make everything beautiful in this world, but I don't ever want anyone to feel like they're an outsider just because of their skin tone. And if you feel that way, then I would just say, look at your surroundings, because you might have to isolate yourself, or you're surrounding yourself in, because your surroundings can also affect you in a way of you feeling less than what you're actually worth, because no one should ever feel less than what they are. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe so we could heal together. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next episode. Bye.